Hi, I am Mwosi Swenson. I do run Warwick Donordigital. I don't know if I'm one of the most respected voices in the industry, but I like that title, and I'll take it for now. Um, and just a little bit about Warwick Donordigital. We are an integrated direct response fundraising firm. We work with about 30 nonprofit organizations across the country, from some smaller regional organizations to some very large national and international organizations. We work in mail, phone, digital, advertising, texting, and we'll talk a bunch about that today. So my job is to talk with you about what happens after the gift and after, hopefully, your donors who have given online got a lovely autoresponder. I'm going to talk about all these things on the side: cultivation, relationship building, second gift conversion, monthly giving, multi-channel giving, other ways of giving. That's a lot, and we could talk about that for 2 days, right? All of those things. So instead of talking about a bunch of things, I'm just gonna roll. It's also after lunch, right? And I know everybody gets, you're a little tired after the salmon. So we're gonna just roll into examples. And I hope that from a bunch of different examples, you get a few things that you can use in your program moving forward. I'll just give you the cheat sheet highlights now of the things that I think are really important in getting a donor to give again and to have a deeper relationship with you, and then we'll talk about those throughout the examples. So first, here's the top line: personalization and segmentation. We're going to talk about that. That's important. Cultivation and stewardship, how you're building your community and how you're getting folks to have a deeper affinity with your cause. How we integrate the channels, which is even more important now, and how you can use the tools that you have at your disposal, no matter the size of your program, what your mission is, to raise more money and to cultivate the folks who choose to give to you. And then the huge disclaimer, which is what we know at MWD, is that your results are going to vary, right? I think the important thing about fundraising programs is that all are different, your donors are different, and so you have to try the things that are going to work for you, test them, and then build the program that's appropriate. So first, I just want to go a little bit into building a framework for how to engage donors after they've given to you online. And the things that we look at are who's the audience? So obviously, you may have folks who are coming to you and giving to your website, and that's just how you're getting donors. But we know that there's lots of other things that are important to look at as you're looking at how to engage donors. And things that we look at are the origin source. Is it somebody who came because there was a big national emergency and they sought you out? Is it someone you might have pushed from a direct mail campaign? We look at the type of gift. We'll talk a little bit about first-time monthly donors, first-time, one-time donors. Is there something about the seasonality? It's because most of your donors come in December. And then what is the path that you're setting them on? And I do want to give a bit of a disclaimer of this seems daunting, but you can build this framework for any program, for any size. And it's really just about stepping back and thinking of these things as you're setting folks on a journey. Right now, I know later we'll talk about AI and all the fancy things that AI can do for journeys, but there's also things that us humans are able to do pretty easily. And some of those things you might be setting them on are, they're going to become a monthly donor. They're going to become a mid-level or a major donor. Maybe we just need them to give the second gift. So how are you going to measure those results? And I think this, again, is a really important part of this, is we're investing in getting people to your website, clicking on an ad, giving through the mail, giving through email. So we really need to be making sure that we're monitoring how all of these different things that we're doing are paying back. And so we look at return on investment. We look at how many people give a second gift. Sometimes we're looking at how many people took an action. We're looking at how many people maybe gave an upgrade. You may be looking at other things, and that's important to your program. So today, we'll talk a little bit about how we develop plans using the tools you have, and then again, just a real strong suggestion about continuing to refine and regularly monitor results. I guess my first question to you all is, do you all believe that you have a donor journey that you've set up? Yes. And when's the last time you looked at it? 2 weeks ago? A few months ago. Okay. Anybody else? Cool. All right. Let's jump into it. Okay. So charts can help And this is a chart we created years ago, and we were super proud of this, and like someone did it in Word. Right now, AI would make this look so much better. And I don't think you have to do something this extensive, but I think it's a good step back to think about the journey that folks go on that you may not have a lot of control of when they first join. So in this example, we built this for a first online gift, and then we were trying to say, it's costing us a lot of money to get these first online gifts. How can we employ all of the channels that we have to do the best that we can to engage them, steward them, and get them to give again? Because we know that giving again means they have a higher propensity for staying on the file, giving you more money in the long term, and increasing retention. So again, I don't think you need to do this full exercise, but I think it's important to think about the way a donor might flow. So without going into this, I'll just say this was the email series. We also said, if we can find a phone number, we would like to do thank you calls. Side note, thank you calls increase retention, and that's a whole other thing we can talk about. We also wanted to figure out when we were asking folks about, what a surprise, we want them to be a monthly donor. If they said no, then what's going to happen to them? So this was a single gift conversion. We know that they were going to get a direct mail thank you, which is an important part of the journey, and a new donor invite. And then some folks were shuttling over here for a mid-level welcome. And then folks who are declining continue to go through a single gift conversion series. Again, that's a lot. You don't have to build this in your program, but I think the step back to understanding the tools at your disposal and the way that you may kind of put some on a journey is helpful as we think about how to get the second, third, monthly higher gift from folks who are giving online. Alrighty, and then the last thing is just like, is it working? I don't think anybody here needs me to talk about how we measure retention. If you do, just raise your hand, because I'm sure anybody else might be helpful. But the important parts of retention that we're looking at is people who give, maybe join the year before, and then give the next year. We also are looking at how many folks cross channels. And you'll see that it's a low benchmark, but it doesn't matter because those few folks who do cross channels are usually much more valuable. We're looking at long-term value and ROI. And then one important thing that we continue to look at when we're looking at retention, and I think this is a good way to think about the buckets of donors, is we always monitor new donor retention. They gave to you last year for the first time, and now they're giving again. We're also looking at reactivated retention, folks who skipped some year of giving. And then the last is we're looking at multi-year retention, which is people who have given to you consecutively for at least 2 years. We see those as really important donor groups because they all are on a different path, and it's really important to see how each of the donor groups are retaining year over year. We look at lifetime value, and we look at ROI. Are there other benchmarks or metrics that you are looking at in your program that are helpful for everybody as we're thinking about how to engage folks after they've given a first gift? After lunch. Okay, let's go for it. All right, so let's get started. Let's just talk about welcome series. I'm assuming most folks here have a welcome series. Yes? Welcome series. All right. So we're going to just jump into examples, and we can talk through these and let me know if you have questions. So we still believe, old school, that folks who join your email list, who've given a gift, should get a nice welcome series. Things have changed over the years. There were times that they were a month long, and now we've kind of consolidated them to things that are shorter. But this one is a great example. This is for Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy. They work to conserve and protect the Golden Gate National Parks in the San Francisco Bay Area. Folks, it's some of the most iconic parks that you can think of, whether it's Alcatraz or some of the other shorelines there. So folks who give have a very personal connection to the parks. And so after every gift, we've created a special Renewal series that goes out. And it's customized in a couple of different ways, and I'm not sure if you can see it. But the first thing is we are often recruiting new sustainers. So you get a lovely welcome to the Parks Conservancy message, and this highlights the ways you can engage on social. You can read more stories about the parks, everybody gets that. And then we move on over to the next in the series, which is what's your next park adventure? And it has a couple of different things: find your new favorite park, learn about powerful park programs, shop the parks. But this is customized. So one of them is like, thank you so much, Golden Gatekeeper, for joining as a monthly giving donor. And then this is a general thanks for your gift. So these go out, let me tell you the cadence here. I think they go out a week after each other. And then the first two go out to everyone. And then the third goes out if you are not a monthly donor, but we want you to become one. So pretty quick succession. We have welcome. We have a way to engage you that's core to the mission. We're customizing that. And then for folks who are not monthly donors, we're quickly asking you to become a monthly donor. I think there was a question before about who do we think are the best audience for monthly donors. In our experience, it is new donors, although there are other segments in the file that are great prospects, and there's better targeting now to find out who those are. But we quickly ask folks to become new donors to become monthly donors. And then this is something different. So who is using peer-to-peer texting? A couple. And do y'all know what I mean when we talk about peer-to-peer texting? Yes? Yes, okay. So instead of mass blasts, right, this is a way that you can actually text a whole bunch of people, but it is using platforms where there are actually individuals who are hitting send and who can respond personally to text. Donors understand pretty quickly that it's a real person behind this mass text, because if they respond, someone is giving them an answer. We are using this now across every organization. The thing that's magical about peer-to-peer is that you are able to append any audience and load them into a peer-to-peer platform, which is not the same for mass blast. We're raising a lot of money directly from this means now, y'all, and it's super supportive in new donor conversion, welcoming, and all that stuff. Also, text has like a 95% open rate or something. It's like the most eyeballs we'll ever get on any of the things that we send out. So for GGMPC, there's hi, Wendy, this is Mindy from the National Parks. Welcome. Thanks for joining as a member. And then there's a follow-up here, which is one of the staples of peer-to-peer, is like a question so that someone can answer and you can start having a conversation. This is like, do you have a park memory you'd like to share? For GGMPC, when we test folks who get texts and we test the cohort against text cohorts that don't, guess which audience performs so much better, even if they're not giving in the texting space? It's the folks who get text. All right. More texting, more texting. Okay, so again, welcome texting. This is for two completely different organizations. One is KQED, which is a large public media station in San Francisco Bay Area. They have a large direct response program, and one of the ways that we're able to roll in ongoing texting is just to have a monthly texting program with different audiences. So in this example for KQED, this is a member services person, a real person. I believe this was a video, but I didn't set it up here. And they're saying, I'm reaching out to thank you for donating and becoming a member. Just text off if you prefer not to get text anymore from us. Do you have any questions about your membership? For Center for Victims of Torture, this was actually a response to a new donor who came in from the USAID defunding that happened for the Center for Victims of Torture. They alerted all of their constituents about that. They did get an increase in gifts. And so this was a way to send a quick note to everybody who gave a gift. And again, this is like, I want to thank you for recently donating to CVT. We don't always test everything, but for KQED, we have been doing cadence testing, and we found that the folks who get a pre-cultivation text message that's like this or anything else, followed by a solicitation text message, have almost 100% increase in response rate directly to the text. So we are building in cultivation text messages before we do straight text messages because of the increase in response rate. Again, it's what we expect. Folks like to feel like you know them and you're building a relationship with them. The last thing I'll say about peer-to-peer texting is a really good rule of thumb is just to ask a question and invite some type of reply. That also allows people to know that there's a real person behind the keyboard versus just like stop, yes, no, all the things we do in Mass Blast. Alrighty, so those are 2 welcome examples. Let's go on over to more stewardship and engagement. Okay, back to KQED, a really large digital program, again, one of the larger public media stations in the nation. The digital program generates significant revenue year over year. A really important part of our work with them is maintaining an active email list for fundraising. And while we build lots of innovative fundraising campaigns, we also want to build ongoing goodwill and to really answer this question, like, why should I keep giving? So we decided that we should create some impact emails. And by impact emails, these are things that we're trying to visually show what a member's support does for KQED. So I don't know if you can see it here, but like this says over 1/2 of KQED's annual budget is given by members. Over here, it's $55,000 is what it takes per day for KQED to bring the programs. I think this is 1/2 of the adults in the Bay Area is reached by KQED's is reached by KQED every year. So things that really are impactful, but also are visually stand out and a good way to consume information. The other thing about this, y'all, is that for great email deliverability, we need folks to be clicking, right? We need folks to open emails. We need them to click. We need them to engage. So these impact emails were a good way of doing all of that together. All right. Okay. Pre-campaign cultivations. This is also a theme, I'll just highlight it again, that we found all programs are different. For a number of organizations that their campaigns, whether it's texting or emailing, do better when there's a nice cultivation ahead of it. And that has been tested a number of times. And so for Semper Vibrance Fund, which is a small organization in the South Bay of California that protects redwoods in the Santa Cruz Mountains, this is something that we've tested a number of times. Like, we got to get a cultivation into the stream before we start asking for gifts. So for this, we're like, what can we do? And this one has a fund premium that was offered. So and this went before the annual Sustainer campaign, which is an important campaign for them. So if you can see here, they are offering a free trial membership to All Trails, so obviously a collaboration with a hiking and biking app that allows you, I guess, to find great hiking and biking trails. It is obviously very on mission for who they are, but this one had open rates that was actually better than normal and a click-through rate of almost 4%. That if you're in the world of email metrics, that's a pretty strong click-through rate. So again, just some fun way to cultivate folks you're about to ask, and then we love to find mission-appropriate premiums when we can. Other fun emails. For GGMPC, we also want folks to click and open. We also want folks to know that their support is going somewhere. We want folks to have fun. So we've launched a couple of things that are different ways to engage people. One was super cute, send a park ranger a Valentine's Day card. You click through, you got to this page, you could add your name and a special message. Again, high click-through rates, over 3%. We also have been having great success with old school quizzes, believe it or not, quizzes and surveys. So this is a test your park knowledge. Do you know how many miles of shoreline are in the Golden Gate National Parks? This is a simple, easy implementation because guess what? When you click through, what a shocker, you end on a donation page that has the answer. You didn't have to build a fancy quiz or a fancy survey, but it allows folks to click through, get the answer on the donation page, and then obviously give gifts. Personalized messaging. So Dana talked a bunch about the importance of sustainers, and for every one of our programs now, we are still working on their sustainer program, no matter how big they are. We have sustainer programs that are less than 1,000. We have sustainer programs who are in the hundreds of thousands. That does not mean that there's not a way to optimize and continue to grow it. I think for those of us who've lived through recessions and other problematic times, we know that those sustainer programs are built a base of revenue that really sustained organizations year after year without some of the intensive work that other parts of the programs do. And a little hint, these are also some legacy giving prospects, so we can talk about that later. So while it's great to find those folks and then, to Maureen's point, get them to join as sustainers, then what do you do when they're in your walls, when they're here? So for Semper Virens Fund, this is actually an automated 6-part series. And it's for New Forest Sustainer, which is their monthly giving program. The first email, which if you can't see, is the thank you, and it launches 6 days after the first monthly donation. The second one, which highlights the social properties, launches 6 days after that. The third goes right into their tribute program, which is a really impactful part of their program where you can give a gift to grow the forest. That comes 1 month after the second one. So it is spread out. Then the third is legacy giving, and I'll have a slide later about legacy giving. But while sometimes we think that legacy giving should be focused on older parts of your file or long-term parts of your file, we do not agree. Legacy giving should be promoted. Legacy and asset giving should be promoted to everybody, including new donors. And so we get into the fourth, which is 3 months after the one before, which is the legacy giving program intro. And then 6 months later, so now they're full into being a monthly donor to your organization. They get a survey. So again, engagement and let somebody give feedback. And then finally, one of the things that we love to do are anniversaries. So that last one is a year after you became a monthly sustainer. It says happy anniversary for your first time you gave a gift. And it just celebrates the fact that you've been a monthly giver for a year, and that, here's the biggest thing, we know that you are. Right, so that's the most important part. We know that you've been a monthly donor, because when you ask donors things, they like to be recognized, they like their name to be spelled right, all these things that are important as a person. All right, let's talk about resolicitation and upgrading. Brandon, who's here, will know this organization. So Student Conservation Association is a client, and they run hands-on environmental conservation programs for youth and adults. And we always have had a nice annual, maybe it's 2 times a year, monthly giving campaign with multiple messages and all that good stuff. But we wanted to find a way to kind of have an always on monthly giving automation. So this is an automated message. It's sent out to one-time donors 5 days after they give their initial gift. So it kind of acts like a second acknowledgement, but it's also a great thank you. It invites the donors to be a trail builder, to be a monthly giver. And what's cool about this is that it's not sent by the president, it's actually sent by a crew member. So this is Tara Shaw, the Indiana Dunes Restoration Crew. So another kind of credible voice in the organization talking about the importance of monthly giving. How many of y'all run renewals, have a renewal program? Do membership or donor or, yes, some? Okay. So World Animal Protection has a pretty extensive direct mail program, and it's integrated with the digital program. And one of the best asks in all of our work, right, is it's time to renew. So we built this, I believe it's a 10-part e-renewal series that is automated. it starts 9 months after the most recent gift. So a little bit different than an annual series or an expires-based series. This is based just on the donor's most recent gift. And it runs, the next 9 run 15 days apart. By the 10th, you are 18 months from your most recent gift. So you can understand like the folks that we are targeting. I think the important thing to note here, besides the fact that number one is it's coordinated with offline, is that it's automated and it uses a variety of formats and techniques. I'll show you the rest on the next slide. For instance, like you can see there's resend. I won't say to non-openers since we don't fully know who non-openers are anymore, but a resend of a message. There is also a survey included in this. There's a number of places where there's a monthly ask. In this one, there's some social proof here. Sophia K renewed their support with a little testimonial. It has impactful images. It is something that can just run and run well. I won't say set it and forget it because I don't think you should set and forget anything, but this can really just be something running in the background. And again, has some of the highest response rates because it is this renewal ask. Okay, so mid-level is an important part of any program, and it's a really important part of a number of the programs that we manage. So WNET is the New York-based public media station. And for WNET, we also work on their patrons program, which is their mid-level program. And every year we send a proposal package. I don't know if you guys know what I mean by a proposal package. It's like a big oversized package. This is going to their patrons, again, mid-level. There's lots of personalization. You can see in this that there's actually like a special proposal prepared for someone's name that has a lot of content about what the money's going to go for if you give a larger gift. We have a giving pyramid here that actually goes up to how many people we need to give $15,000. And the funding proposal had lots of content and pictures. So one of the things that we did, and this is for folks who are giving at this level and also folks who may have given an initial gift that makes us want to invite them to, is we created the patrons proposal online. So in the mail, you can click on a URL and get to this. We also directed folks through their email and, surprise, surprise, theme of this presentation, through a text message, a peer-to-peer text message. So this one actually shows a picture of the direct mail campaign and a link to the digital funding proposal. This integration has helped this program grow exponentially year over year. And the average gift for folks who we send an email to is over $1,500. Again, these are higher level folks, but we are getting folks to upgrade into that giving, that patron circle. Who's using advertising in support of constituents that you're emailing or mailing? Yes. Yeah. So a big plug for this. We use advertising for all kinds of things. It's a supportive channel. I don't think we can get away from not using it anymore. One of the ways that we use it with really great success is targeting folks who we want to give. Again, and for these two organizations, we've been running Renewal ads. For American Friends Service Committee, which is on the right, we have an automated sync between every action and Facebook, and we target donors who have given 13 plus months ago. The thing with those, again, it's a smaller group, but it's a very responsive group. The ROAS, the return on ad spend in this is over $1. There's no reason not to do it. Cost per donor, I think, is about 53, which still is fine for us because, again, that's working for the overall program. The ads that work best for them are ones that use a Renew Now call to action, and that's better than the Donate Now or Give Now. The other things I'll just call out, because this looks boring, is that we have found that we call these lo-fi ads that look like they're words, or they look like you maybe wrote them on your phone in the Notes app. These are working really well in Facebook. So sometimes we go full and use pictures and video, but these are just a format that continues to work really well. Things change, that may not happen going further forward, but it's working right now. Same targeting for Semper Virens Fund, not the same size of audience, but we're also targeting folks who haven't given in the last year. The return on ad spend was not quite $1 on that, but that was still okay. And one thing we've been experimenting with Semper Virens Fund is targeting lapsed sustainers. So we ask them to restart their monthly gift or rejoin the Forest Sustainer, and have had a really good return on ad spend with that tactic. So one of the things that we continue to do is look at the audience that we have at our disposal and how we can target them for the things that we want. So as we're getting new online folks, definitely they could be moving into the ads world, whether it's they haven't given in a year, or they've just given, or we have a matching gift campaign out, or we want to promote monthly giving. This is the way that we're often targeting. Legacy giving. So I don't know how many here are responsible for plan giving or asset giving in your organization, but one thing that we know is really important is that that shouldn't be a silo, right? Because your audience and the marketing about legacy giving and plan giving should be going to everybody who is on your file, if you can, and especially folks who are new. And I know that that's a little controversial compared to maybe back in the day where we were like, we can only target, people who are 75 plus, who've given for 10 years. No, that's not true. And it's not the future of how legacy giving is working and will continue to work. So we use email, digital ads, text messaging for lead generation, for gift disclosures, for pledges, for stewardship, and anybody who's kind of coming into our world, we believe should be getting some legacy giving. For Semper Virens Fund, what we wanted to do is, instead of having this huge page or an email that was other ways to give, which is also overwhelming, we broke up ads for QCD giving, for donor advised fund giving, for stock giving, for workplace giving, and we've been using Meta and LinkedIn for those efforts. It's hard to completely track all the time how these were working, but we know we're getting leads. We know that we're getting in front of the people we want. We're also getting in front of some prospects, y'all, which is also kind of contrary to legacy giving. I don't know, the mantra of it, that it should be folks within your walls. There's plenty of people who leave gifts to organizations that they have not had a previous financial contribution to before. So we also are targeting lookalikes and other folks. PETA also, we work with PETA on a pretty substantial plan giving program. And for this one, I have too many notes. The top, the cute little piggies and the one above are Facebook ads that led to a Facebook lead form where we could have folks enter their information, including their email address. I'll tell you what the flow was. So it got to a place and they would ask them the questions. And the questions would be, I have included PETA in my will. I am considering including PETA in my will. I'd like more information about including PETA in my will. And we collected name, email, zip code. You can also collect phone number. And so then they landed on this confirmation page that thanked them again and let them know how impactful legacy giving is to PETA. We're also doing direct email communication to folks who get on the PETA file. And that email was also, it was a bequest email. So it was asking folks, again, about leaving a legacy in their will. we use it consistently for, again, disclosing current gifts, pledging a gift, and the kind of hook and plan giving, right, is please, can we send you more information? Would you like more information about this way of giving? All right, back to sustainers. So we all do a lot of work getting sustainers in the door, and then we lose some without anything bad that we've done, including credit cards expiring. So we've started building automated series for folks who we know that their credit cards is expiring. We call it a stop loss series. And in this series, we have 3 different messages here. The first one on the left is, again, we know that your credit card is going to expire, and we're letting folks make a decision about updating that, or even better, changing to a different payment method, which would be EFT, which doesn't expire every time you get a new credit card. We also let people know the first one is asking people to make a switch to EFT because their credit card is going to expire. So we ask it ahead of time before that. Then we say, oh, your credit card is getting really close to expiring. Would you like to change? And then even better, would you like to change to EFT? And then this one is resume your monthly support after your credit card is declined. We have these running ongoing. Again, it's one of those things that you can set it, but we highly suggest you don't forget it. You have to keep your eye on these as far as audiences you're pulling in, if you need to change content, all of those good connections with your CRM. But this is a really important part of our work in sustainers. Okay, last one is just about integrating all of these things together. And for Phoenix Children's Hospital, they really wanted to have a campaign that Steward engaged lapsed and prospective Heroes Circle members, which is their mid-level program. And they wanted to be able to create maybe some off-ramps for folks who should move into major giving and to expand and really accelerate their major giving program. So we created this big campaign from the beginning that had email, direct mail, peer-to-peer texting, digital advertising. We used dynamic asks on the donation page. And we created a series that ran over a good amount of time. We were really intentional about the kinds of content that we had. So the first were a couple of patient stories. We include some donor stories in it. We had an engagement survey. And then we created kind of a last message that looked like it was an e-newsletter, which is here. We had a survey that was this was the survey that you could reach through an email or on the homepage. We had some ads, and shocking, we had some peer-to-peer texting. And we let that run intentionally for, I think it was 2 or 3 months. The end game of it, it was a campaign that raised over $330,000, very high average gifts, high engagement across all of these messages, and definitely something that can be specialized for folks who have either given an initial gift or a second gift that looks like they should be moving into the mid-level category. Okay, I've talked at you a lot. So I'm going to throw it back to you all for a table chat maybe, because that's easier than talking to me, just about what are you going to change in your program? Any ideas that you had? What are things that maybe you got out of this session that you know that you can implement it in your program, or things that you know will never work, but that was a good idea, Mwosi? So maybe, I think I have time, right? Yes, maybe 5 minutes? Is that good? 2 minutes? 3? 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And then I'd love to hear back from you all some ideas that came. Okay, who has ideas, thoughts to share with the group? I think I'm losing my... Anybody came with some initial things that they need to bring back home right away and work on? Yes.
Almost all of it.
Oh, almost all of it.
We have a small team, so we haven't been doing any of the welcome series stuff, so I love that idea. So I think that's something easy we could implement. And then I really love the happy anniversary stewardship touch, but then I also think we could do that for a lapsed donor.
Absolutely.
Attached to that. And then I'm curious to learn more about renewal ads and how those.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Great. I'm happy to talk to you about that. Other thoughts, ideas, things that came up for you in your program? I heard chatter. Yes, Rashad.
Getting more surveys and polling.
Yeah.
Renewals is like really having engagement.
Yeah. Those are easy to do. Anything else? Yes.
I liked your mention of infographics because I feel like there's some data that we could share that could really show the impact of some of the work we're doing, like just to make it like really visual and to drive everybody.
Cool.
I was just wondering what the impact on subscribe rates were like with lengthy welcome series.
The impact of subscribe rate for GGMPC, you know what? I don't know, but let me tell you, that's a metric that we look at a lot. And if we see a weird spike that kind of isn't following the trend, we'll look at it. But I will say the other thing too is someone wants off your list, get off the list. Do you know what I mean? You're just going to drag down other problems. So while we are not trying to engage extra unsubscribes, like a natural flow of unsubscribes is okay. But we do look at a trend. If something bounces up, there might be something that we won't do again. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Cool. Thank you all.